The Indianapolis Colts are benching former first-round pick. When I say former, I mean last year.
Like 1 year ago from today.
Number 4 overall, Anthony Richardson. And turning to veteran, the reigning comeback player of the year, Joe Flacco. 48. How old is he?
39.
54.
39.
Okay.
He's not that
coaches
old.
met this morning and made a seismic decision as far as going forward. This is a quote from Shane Steichen. I'm just looking at where we are as a football team, sitting at 500 with a lot of football left, and feel that Joe gives us the best chance going forward. When asked about if the decision was a unified decision within the organization, he said, quote, I can't speak for them. I can't speak for our team.
You what?
You're the head coach.
You're the head coach, so I don't know.
Who do you speak for?
Who else?
Who do you speak for?
Yeah.
I speak for Shane.
Yeah. It seems like there's some division with this decision. I think that's clear. Shane Steichen has said before, I literally went back and looked at clips, the only way for Anthony Richardson to get better is snaps, is reps. And so seems to me that this wasn't his decision. This has, to me, Jim Irsay written all over it.
Yeah, this kind of because I like Shane, and then even Chris Ballard. I saw a clip today of him saying, "Yeah, it takes time." You know, the obviously the comp for every slow developing quarterback is Josh Allen, but this is pretty comparable. I know last week I was kind of against it. Now that actually happened, it's like, ugh. So what are you gonna do with Anthony Richardson then? Is he benched? What'd you tell him? Like, is he like, hey, this is more of a reset? You'll have your job next year. And what if it's just weird? Because it seems like a big disconnect between owner, head coach, and players, which is not indicative of a well-run franchise.
Yeah, you had a feel for Shane Steichen today because you kind of knew he was in one of those positions that we've seen head coaches before where a decision was made and he had to go up there and be a good camper,
a good soldier,
and toe the company line, and go and not at all show division. I thought he did a pretty good job being in a tough position. But they're going to go with Joe Flacco. Does he make them better right now? Absolutely. Are they? Could they make the playoffs this year? For sure. Are they win a Super Bowl? No. And the only reason you should have ever thought about making this move is if you thought you could win a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco. Unfortunately, I think it's exactly what Jim Irsay thinks. I think that's why he's pulling this string.
This is what the Colts do. Philip Rivers, Matty Ice, what other quarterbacks have they rammed through their old type quarterbacks? This is what they do. They just like these veteran quarterbacks because it feels safe and they feel like, well, our team's so good that we've seen a game manager. It's not going to end well. It's going to be, they might. What if they don't even make the playoffs? So they miss a year of development.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a big Richardson guy, but still, like, if you're going to be bad, at least be bad with your development quarterback.
Well, whether or not you are, you owe it to yourself to see if you wasted your number 4 overall pick or not.
From last year.
Like, you owe it to yourself to see that through.
Yeah.
Or else you've already made it a loss. So you're already waving the flag. I don't care if you say, well, he's still a guy of the future. We might bring him back. That might be true, but you've made it, like, very, very much, like, harder.
Yeah, and also, next year you're going to sign some of the quarterbacks. So are you really the quarterback of the future, or do we just say that because if you do bad, which he was doing bad this season, like there's no way around it. He wasn't doing great. But if you drafted him, you had to prepare. I mean, I didn't like the strategy, but if you drafted him, you had to prepare for the reality that he might stink. And there's some games where he might stink, or
I
he does
just don't
stink.
know what changes. Like, what for them changed? 10 starts in his career. That's 10 starts, 8 full games.
This is
like what? Nothing has changed. He's still the raw quarterback who needs time.
And you know what's crazy is that I know Flacco was in for 3 of those games, which is, half the season, but still, like, even with this quarterback who was bad, you're still 4-4. You were in that game with Houston last week.
There's other problems to this team. They cannot stop the run.
They can't stop the pass.
And they can't. Well, they really can't stop the run. They're like one of the worst in the league against a run. The play calling hasn't been good.
Yeah.
They don't give the ball to Jonathan Taylor nearly enough. A lot of Anthony Richardson's interceptions, you'll notice, come in the red zone, where you probably should just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, we said last week, you're like, this might be a Shane Steichen problem where they're not like, they just seem like this is my offense and you're going to run it. Instead of this is my quarterback who's uniquely talented. Right. Let's build the offense around him like you see all the other good head coaches do.
They should have slowed the game down, led the league, or been close to how many times you run it as opposed to pass it.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson should be running the ball.
And then the deep shots. I understand he's good at throwing the ball far. Like he's a big arm, but your whole offense was predicated off of either running the ball in the A gaps or just chucking it down the field as hard as Richardson can throw to Josh Downs.
I've been so high on Shane Steichen before, but I think he's just proving to be a guy who he can succeed in this league but you need to get him with a certain kind of quarterback.
Yeah.
He can't do it with the other kind of quarterbacks.
A traditional guy.
The other side of this is Anthony Richardson, his development. 10 games is just, I can't stress enough how little that is, especially for this quarterback. Like, that would be a little for most quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But for a quarterback that played about 10 games before he even reached your team, like, he needs a season and a half, 2 seasons.
Yeah. There's a little bit of me that believes that, like, he was trying to save the locker room, but then, because there was mixed reports, because I know Zaire Franklin came out and was just said, like, basically everyone just saying, whatever he said about the fatigue thing, just don't say it. Just lie. Because that means, like, oh, the locker room was okay with it. Just don't tell media.
Josh Downs came out and said, I think everyone's overreacting.
Yeah,
Got tired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think his locker room was fine with it. And if that's fine, like, my worry was that he was lose the locker room. But the locker room just don't say it.
Locker room loved him. Michael Pittman already tweeted his support, like, hey, we'll be back, bro. We'll make this come back together. It's just, it's a bad move. Not to mention, this happens. I don't know if it's just pressure from the outside or pressure because there's been quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud. We've seen Jaden Daniels this year.
That's what I think it is, honestly.
Yeah.
Just like the leash is getting shorter. Not that it should.
Right.
But guys are owners and general management, they're getting impatient because you have these guys like C.J. Stroud and Jaden Daniels going off in ways that rookies never have before. Look at Caleb Williams' development this year. That's what a rookie quarterback is supposed to look like.
And there was no flinching.
Yep.
Give it to the Bears. There was no flinching. That's our guy.
Yep.
And they have a young quarterback who a lot of that city likes behind him.
Yeah, didn't he throw for like
Tyson Badgett?
Did he throw like 98 yards in one game? Caleb Williams.
He's been really bad at something.
And they're just like, yeah, this is our guy. So we're gonna ride through the ups and downs. And this is what's gonna happen.
I got some stats for you here. Through 10 games, Anthony Richardson. This is of course against their first 10 games. Through 10 games, Anthony Richardson has a better passer rating than Donovan McNabb, Carson Palmer, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Josh Allen, and Matthew Stafford.
Wow.
Through 10 games, he had a better passer rating than all those quarterbacks.
That's crazy.
Through 10 games, he had more total touchdowns than Carson Palmer, Eli Manning, Josh Allen. Through 10 games, he had less turnovers than Donovan McNabb, Carson Palmer, Eli Manning. 10 less than Peyton Manning,
Carson Palmer sucks.
Josh Allen, and Matthew Stafford.
Was Palmer good?
This has happened before.
Are we praising Carson Palmer right now?
Well, this is another subject.
That's what I'm just saying. Like, sometimes young quarterbacks struggle, and he wasn't even struggling in comparison to some of the greatest quarterbacks you've ever seen. It wasn't even that bad, really. Like, it was bad, and you weren't a good team. But this is when they used to develop quarterbacks, who, by the way, some pretty great quarterbacks on this list. That's what happens. Carson Palmer had 21 turnovers. Imagine what you have seen from Anthony Richardson.
In 10 games?
In 10 games. Imagine what you have seen from Anthony Richardson in the last 10 games. Add 10 more turnovers to that. How bad that would be.
Well.
That was Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's terrible, terrible, terrible.
Yeah, it's also a reflection on Chris Ballard and Shane Steichen for not, like, if you're going to be about a draft pick who's like this, then be about it. Even if I never liked him to begin with, but if you draft him, if this is your guy, just be about it.
When you drafted him, what was he? He was a raw, unproven project. What is he 18 months later? Still a raw, unproven project.
Yeah.
He has not gone up or down from what he was from when you drafted him. So why are you making this decision at this time when he hasn't even gotten a chance to be developed?
Especially since... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I do want to add like this much. So
Take it off.
I'm done.
I do want to add this. You were talking about how, like, the raw talent and everything. I said this a couple weeks ago. Is this what he needs in his young career right now? Does he need to sit down? We laugh at the Joe being the starter and everything, but does he need to be behind a Super Bowl winning guy like that? Does he need to watch the place? Is this something? I know it's hard to spin this as a positive.
He
but
played 3 games last year. He watched for all season last year. He watched Gardner Minshew play some of the best ball of his career.
Right.
He watched a team make a playoff run that shouldn't have. He watched last year. And this to play.
And the story with him, though, even when he was coming into the league, was that he doesn't have a lot of games played. So, like, is there even more that he needs to watch in order for him to become a legitimate starter in this league?
Is it worth it for him to sit behind a quarterback who, in no way will he play the same type of game?
Yeah, what is he going to do like Joe Flacco?
I mean,
that he didn't see last year.
He's won a Super Bowl. I think there's enough experience there where you could at least grab...
Was he going to tell more Super Bowl stories?
No, something.
No,
also... You grab something off that.
There's also, like, maybe the head coach, Shane, was like, I'm not going to lose my job for this kid.
So this could be a very.
I all my heart believes.
Well, that's very
Sensation
selfish if that's
wants
Well,
to keep him.
that's what head coach. Head coach. Like, I don't
That's
have
the NFL.
I don't have 4 years.
I think this is Jim
develop.
Irsay. This to me has Jim Irsay written all over it. Like, hey, Joe Flacco, we were 4-2 with him. We might be a Super Bowl team with him.
Yeah.
Let's go with Joe Flacco.
Just from what I see on Twitter and players' comments, a lot of like Pittman found out about this just same way we did. The players weren't even like it's just like you thought you were losing the locker room prior to this. This is how you lose a locker room. You just isolated every player and said, "This is my move. I don't care what the captains say of the team. I don't care what Pittman's been here for. What he's like one of the longest tenured Colts on this team. Like I don't care what you think or players think. This is my move. This is it. I'm like you have to at least let them know or give them some kind of hint. It's just
the same organization that nearly ran. Let's not forget all the crap that happened with Jonathan Taylor. Thank God he was like a bigger man and let it go. Yeah. They almost ran Jonathan Taylor out of town. This is the same team that made Jeff Saturday the head coach, who, but by the way, hasn't got an interview since.
Well, I wonder why. He was a good coach.
All right, well, let's let that go now. By the way, Anthony Richardson out after 10 starts. Daniel Jones on Sunday will have his 72nd.
It's got to be a race.
Where are we
thing,
living?
Why is Daniel Jones interesting? Is he like terrible?
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to go through Week 9 slate of games and pick them all. Be right back.